Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, I'm Sue Minahan, founding host and astrologer of Talk Cosmos, weekly conversations, awakening your authentic self. Today's Sunday, May 22nd. Follow us, subscribe. We have weekly email letter, connect to Talk Cosmos YouTube. And we're also on the podcast app, 1150 KKNW YouTube online format. So like us, and because this is our 5th season and we look forward to connecting. Today, our subject involves a potent connection with Mars and Jupiter in Aries. It occurs exactly next Sunday on the 29th. But the Aries seed action energy, which of course Aries always is its nature to start, begins a few days before, just after this talk actually. Mars rules the sign of Aries, and it's the first house of the horoscope. And we've been taught a lot about it. We'll find out more about that. Is it fiery? Is it instinctive? It activates. We know that for sure. And the gas planet Jupiter is the biggest in it's on our solar system. It's all of us could get in there together. So it touches and expands everything we envision. So we'll find out about these seed energies with our specially picked panel guests tonight and today, depending on where you are. And they've been on special events before, so hopefully they are familiar to you. Otherwise, check out some of the past podcasts, YouTubes. So I'll introduce each individually, but these 3 professional astrologers reconnecting tonight will be Linda Berry, vibrational astrologer in Louisville, Kentucky, Israel Ahosi of London, United Kingdom, England, and Marie O'Neill of Santa Rosa, California. So I'll begin with Linda Berry, who has a PAC and MISSW. She received her Professional Astrology Certificate, PAC, in Vibrational Astrology in 2015 from the Avalon School of Astrology.
2012.
Oh my goodness, a typo. It is almost, that's right. It is 12 years. Yes, or 10 years, if I can add.
Yeah.
That's a decade, long time. And studied with David Cochrane, who is the founder of Vibrational Astrology, called VA. Linda holds a Bachelor of Psychology, a Master of Science in Social Work, which is the MSSW. She's an international consultant with clients worldwide, teaches VA classes, and the VA Research Group moderator and author. She created Frequency Finder, a VA add-on to Sirius, a software that I actually have, and Kepler Astrologer software, a co-author with David Cochrane of Vibrational Astrology, Interpreting Aspects, and author of Awakening from Deep Sleep, a spiritual book, remembering who we are. I intend to get that. She writes a blog that I receive too, and freely distributes it to anyone who wants it. It's called the Vibrational Astrology Diary, on daily planets doing their dance with vibrational astrology and Sabian symbols. And another older site is Astrological Depth with Trans-Neptunian Objects, 2008 to 2012, which I think is a great resource. And in this last year, again, she's been teaching a new series of courses for the students of vibrational astrology. So thank you very much, Linda. I'm glad you're on again. And Linda was on for the solstice, winter solstice. It was a fascinating talk because, again, as she points out, that energy continues until this upcoming one that we'll be receiving in June. So we have Israel Ahosi, who has a diploma of psychology, astrology. And Israel is a dedicated student teacher of astrology and tarot and the philosophical and esoteric teachings, which he studied and completed with full honors in psychological astrology at the Center of Psychological Astrology in London with renowned I added renowned Liz Green, because we all do know Liz Green of some stature in astrology. Israel combines traditional, medieval, psychological, and Vedic techniques to provide us guidance, answers, consultations to students, clients worldwide. Israel Ahosi is currently the president of the Astrological Lodge of London, and much of his studies and practices also include cosmology, mythology, which I'd love to connect with you on, occult sciences, the Kabbalah, which again I adore, and shamanism. So thank you, Israel. It's always a great treat.
Always always a great pleasure to be here. It's this is my second family, so it's wonderful to be here at this time. So yeah, great to be here. Loving the energy and looking forward. I'm feeling the Jupiter, Mars, Aries energy already. So I'm good to go.
Oh, it will be. And actually, I will say to the audience, Israel was on March 20th and April 10th. And the March 20th was about the Astrology Day. And April 10th was with Wendy Stacy. And it was about the other conjunction with Jupiter, which was with Neptune. Okay,
Yeah.
Last and never least is Marie O'Neill. Marie has an MBA and is the founder of Padma Life Coaching, located in Santa Rosa, California. Marie, for many years, has experience as life coach, astrologer, speaker, coach, past life regression facilitator, and lecturer. She's a distinguished Toastmaster through Toastmasters International. Marie is on the board of directors with TEDx in Sonoma County and an astrology mentor with FCEA. Marie, what is FCEA? I've been meaning to ask you.
It is the Forrest Center for Evolutionary Astrology.
Oh, yes.
It's Stephen Forrest started a school last January.
I remember Katie was on with you. Yes.
Yes. And it is just a wonderful school. So the letters are FCEA. So, but it's the Forrest Center for Evolutionary Astrology, and you can find it online. Yeah.
We will add that in your bio. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
And in addition, Marie lectures at numerous astrology conferences. She published author in 2021 with her book, And the Lotus Opened. Marie facilitates a virtual healing retreat presented by Padma Life Coaching twice a year. The dates change every year. So thank you, Marie. And
oh my goodness, you are welcome. Thank you for having me.
And Israel. Well, this is you're all adventurous, and it's a gesture of the bountifulness of both these planets. Here you've never spoken perhaps with each other, and you come from totally different parts of the world. I'm in Hawaii. We have California, Kentucky, and Europe, England. So, and we have various charts. I have charts, and Linda, who does vibrational astrology, has quite a few charts. So I was thinking, how do we begin this whole thing? And in some ways, we could look immediately at a chart. And then again, I was thinking, in some ways, there's not necessarily strategy. I had a note to myself about strategy, but I don't think Aries is really strategic. I think it gets strategic after it discovers what it has encountered. Then it starts building on those other cardinal factors. So,
oh yes, this is so true. So true about Aries. One of the things with Aries, esoterically, is it needs to actually stop and think before it takes action. And if it stops and thinks first, it's unstoppable.
Wow. And this will be fascinating to see how that I like that. I have an Aries North Node.
So when we did the research on Aries and looked at the charts of the very strongest Aries people, I think you all find this interesting. We found that the thing that they all had in common was that they went out and did their own thing, and they didn't pay any attention to what other people thought about it.
Right.
So that one of them is really interesting. In France, he was a postman, which is not the kind of job you think of Aries having, but he spent all of his time when he wasn't working building a castle on his property, and it's a tourist attraction now. It's got rooms and doors and windows, and I mean, stones piled, all these stones. It's amazing, and that was how he did Aries. He built a castle.
That is interesting. It's so personal. It is one of our very personal signs.
Yeah. I think also when we take into account that, Aries being ruled by the planet Mars, there's something quite, real energetic and impulsive, and the need for potency to display potency. And I feel this is one of the reasons, as the two previous wonderful women have clearly stated, that there is this, a kind of like a get out my way attitude. I'm going to do it my way. I'm just trying to think of a few famous, Maya Angelou, Van Gogh, Elton John, Lady Gaga, are people who come to mind. Jackie Chan, Hugh Hefner, just a number of a few, Aries sun sign people who they seem to have been pioneers and leaders in their field in some way, shape, or form. The ability to just say, "Look, I'm going to do it my way," and it is what it is. Nobody's going to stop me. The power, the strength of Mars is assisting them in some way, shape, or form to go out there and be potent and to be first in some kind of way. Because we have to also remember it's the first zodiac sign. For us in the northern hemisphere, it's the time of the year when the flowers are blooming and they're shooting out, and if we just it's when the sun ingresses into Aries is when we associate with the vernal equinox. The beginning. Animals are coming out of hibernation. The rams are bucking. That's the month where the rams are bucking for that potent spot, for that fertile spot. So the Aries energy is of one that definitely needs to be recognized. And
it's so interesting because so many people have an issue with the Aries energy, and forgetting that you can't contain that Aries energy. Esoterically, Aries is that spark of light. It is that initial spark from the divine. It comes down through Aries first. That's where the ideas come from. And of course, esoterically, Aries is ruled by Mercury.
Mercury, yeah.
And which really adds another dimension to it. I mean, Mars is there, of course, exoterically, but once that Aries soul or individual has lifted their consciousness up, oh my goodness, then Mercury kicks in with them. And it's a first ray sign, so that means that it's the will. It's the will of God, Aries. And anyway, fascinating. Love, and we couldn't do anything without Aries. We wouldn't accomplish anything.
That's so true. I think, shall we, I don't know if Linda has something to add before I bring on the first chart. I was going to bring on that chart. Did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, I just want to make a shout out to the Southern Hemisphere.
I was thinking that too. Thank you.
And that
Yeah, we can't leave them out.
No, we can't.
This is the beginning of fall.
Mm.
And I think it's important that we separate our symbolism from the seasons and include both hemispheres. And that means that Aries is this initiating spark.
Yeah.
But no question about that. But it's not necessarily the flowers blooming in the spring.
It is really a concept that I know astrology at large is all embracing. And I know both of you, Israel and Marie and Linda, myself, all of us, we've heard this conversation. And it is, and so I appreciate how in our experience, it's so true what you're saying, have shared. But that's a whole nother context that I would just love to really grasp.
Wouldn't that be fun to explore?
How to get the start, because then it makes you think like, okay, if the sun is my own experience, just flipping it. Well, let's look. Unless Israel, you had something to say. Okay.
No, I was just gonna. I was supporting what Linda was saying, and that is correct. But I feel at the end of the day, because astrology, as we know, has also adapted to its cultures and its surrounding for the people who are practicing it. So we do bear that in mind. But for those people in the Southern Hemisphere, it doesn't detach or dismiss them in any way, because we still have that initiation. We still have that initiating point, which brings in. So whether it's initiating going up or going down, depending on one's interpretation, something is being initiated. It's still a beginning of something. So
you know what? This is very true, because I was just thinking, with all analogies, it's an analogy. So it's very true. But it would still be so exciting to start thinking of analogies that work in the reverse. So let's think of all of this. Maybe we'll get on for another talk. Jot that down. So here
it has to do with that point of equal balance. That Aries and Libra cross the line at that point of equal balance.
And the light.
And whichever one you're going toward, it's in the fall, it's more of a balance that's moving into the relationships we need to survive the cold months. But it's still, Aries is still an initiating force.
This helps me too, because as we progress with astrology and the consciousness of, it's all related, there is absolutely all the conversation about patriarch has to do with the masculine and the feminine, which of course gets back to how we look at Mars and Venus and how to describe them away from some of this physicality that we've been approaching. And so what I'm thinking is, just like the equinoxes that relate to that energy too, what you're saying reminds me of that. I often think of the Aries as an assertive, which is versus the Venus or the other, you could say, of relationships, like you're saying, of in the interior. So this is good. We're kind of expanding right here.
And as you know, all of these signs and well, especially the planets, they're both masculine and feminine. We just put that label. We just put a label on them that Mars is masculine only, but Mars can be equally. Mars has a feminine side. Because we live in a dualistic world, so there's always masculine.
I like this. Now that's a whole. This bridges into the whole concept, right? Of why and how that I love. And
I think we have to remember that all the planets, other than the luminaries, with Sun ruling Leo and Moon ruling Cancer, traditionally all of the planets rule a masculine and a feminine sign. So it's something that we must take that into consideration, that they all rule one masculine and one feminine sign each. So you are correct in what you're saying there, that that there is feminine side to them too. There may be an emphasis on a masculine kind of energy, but the feminine quality is always good. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can't.
you certainly can't count Scorpio out.
Yeah, well,
No.
no, certainly not. No.
You really can't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you think about when astrology was created or you know, by our ancestors, we were still dealing with patriarchy.
yeah, yeah, yes,
And
yes,
but
Well,
that's another whole story
yeah,
too.
But
yeah.
I have
No,
to
you're absolutely
add, I
correct.
think that's when it started getting recorded because they know that there is like in Siberia, the tusk, the bone, whether it was a
Yeah,
tusk or a bone, that was like thousands of years before where it had the stars. So it's just our way of going from the talking and sharing that was always the oratory
Right.
method into the written method.
Right.
And in a sense, that goes right along with astrology. We have the nonverbal Aries, the artistic, you know, the vision, the imagery of Aries and Taurus. And then we get into the Gemini.
Yeah,
So
Gemini's the first. Gemini really is the first. Is really the first word.
yeah, the tool maker.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have voice before that.
No.
right, yeah.
Oh, we don't have words, at least.
We don't have
Oh,
words.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, that's it.
Hey,
We don't
which
have
makes
words.
you think maybe song was first because you think of like sound with Taurus. Da, 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 or like rockabye. You know, you didn't say rockabye, and they didn't have that lullaby, but still the mother and the baby, you know.
Yeah.
Or
think
the
first
warrior
two-
going, oh,
yeah.
you know. Mhm.
Yeah, I think the first two zodiac signs symbolically, I tend to look at them as Aries, perhaps giving us that first spark of light. You know, it's quite interesting if we look at perhaps cosmologies. I mean, the Bible, for example, it starts with, you know, the first that, you know, God said, let there be light. That's like the first creation kind of thing. So we get that first spark. And then Taurus gives us the earthiness, the ground, in order that's going to support that world. And then Gemini gives us the air to communicate and animate the you know, the world. Yeah.
The word.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just have to say this, whether it's sacrilegious or whether it's great or whatever, but I was just thinking that the baby was Israel, I think. No, not Israel. Yes, it was. It means, yes, it was. And it means laughter. And so there had to be joy, right? They had to go jump from the fourth to the fifth. Like, let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. Well,
You
look
know,
at
this is
chart.
this is so interesting because I've done a whole lot of work with the Sabian symbols, and when you look at them spiritually, you end up with Aries being the time when you're in the womb,
Right.
and the end of Aries is the birth.
Okay.
That's what happens in the
That's the
Sabian symbols.
Symbols. Oh,
That
that's
29
interesting.
degree of Aries,
Yeah.
right, is when the baby is born.
Well, 30 of Aries, which remember the symbols go to the higher degree. Okay,
Yeah,
so
right.
30 of Aries is the last degree, and the symbol is a duck pond and its brood. Isn't that a perfect symbol for birth?
Yeah.
Into the limited space of into the duck pond, the circle of time and space, and the duck sitting in there, the birth process.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think about that last degree as being a critical degree.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it rules my 8th house, the last degree.
Of Aries.
Yeah.
Which is a house of rebirth. So you've got the birth there still coming through.
And then all my little ducks in Taurus are sitting in there.
Yours and mine both.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Maria and I have the same ascendant, 29 Virgo.
Yeah.
So
That's but I suppose also as well, if we were to look at that as Aries being in the womb, I suppose one could there could be not an argument, but perhaps a suggestion that while in the womb, although we may not have physically manifested, which could be linked with Taurus, the life is there. We're, we're kicking. There is something very Martian-like that's happening while we're in the womb, while we're kicking and moving, and that spark of light, is there in many ways. It just hasn't had any solid physical formulation yet, or strength to provide or to support itself yet. So it's in that very early stage, which one could, many people have seen Aries as a very youthful, young, naive, undeveloped kind of zodiac sign. So yeah, it would kind of tie in
I
with.
think that comes, if I might say so.
Yeah.
That comes from Capricorn, which is the third sign in the cardinal cross. So, you know what I mean? It's always like, who is speaking? Who is giving this determination? Because it's all relative. But this is good. Let's look at the chart. We have a couple minutes.
Let's look at
we've only got a few minutes left, right?
Well, Meanwhile, this has been great. I love all of your comments. So here we have the conjunct, for those that can't see it, because not everybody can see it, Jupiter and Mars on the 29th. And this is in Greenwich at 10:30 in the morning, and 35 seconds, if we want to be exact. It's at 3 degrees and 19 minutes. And so Pisces is still in Neptune's in Pisces, but it's, and this is not whole signs. This is Porphyry. And anyway, and amazingly, we have 28 degrees, which was Regulus, although now it's gone to 0 degrees Virgo. So if anybody has, it's in the 8th house for the world. So as we were talking about Aries, yes.
It's I was just gonna say, I mean, by it being in the 8th house, which is somewhat of an, if we, for those people who align signs with houses, again, that would correspond with a kind of scorpionic house in some kind of way. But I feel there seems to be a huge 8th house energy, which often allows us to perhaps connect with people on a very deep level. It's often very psychological, but the 8th house is also known as shared resources also as well. So perhaps there seems to be a lot of energy in and around situations that are connected with our resources. I know there's been a lot of talk about the situation with oil, especially with the situation with Russia and Ukraine and petrol and
who's fighting?
Just recently.
Who, in a sense, who's defending whose rights?
Exactly.
Should we, before we, thank you very much, Israel. That really gives us a snapshot of what the current world could be and what we're emphasizing. Linda, I'm interested in knowing, did you want to talk about the Sabian symbols for 4 degrees of either Jupiter?
We could certainly do that. I've got it here.
And then that'll take us to the half hour.
Okay, so let's see if I can get this here.
While she's getting that Sabian symbol, when I look at Mars and Jupiter together in Aries, that's a hell of a lot of heat. In the 8th house. And you think about hidden secrets, and I still believe because we're looking at the occult, because that's also the house of the occult. And I know it's not the 6th house, but I could see easily more deaths.
Well, it is endings and beginnings. It truly is endings and beginnings. And we, of course, with that in mind, people keep emphasizing, well, it doesn't have to be actual death, but hey, it can be. There is a cycle that begins and ends, and that's part of astrology. Let's come back.
Okay, I've got the Sabian symbols here.
Okay, but you know what? Let's come back to that because we'll just take a little break for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then we'll be back. And I have with me, this is on May 22nd, talking on Talk Cosmos with a great panel, Israel Ahosi, Marie O'Neill, and Linda Berry. And we'll be right back. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the period of Gemini. By leaving a cycle based on physical form, integrated through spirit, the energy of Gemini connects spirit with matter, focused on communicating and defining the external. Gemini is a mutable air sign signifying flexibility. Gemini dually focuses upon teaching and learning in order to synthesize the world one lives within.
Hi, it's Dr. Laura Tad, and I wanted to let you know about my course in personal mythology. Now offered as a self-paced online class, you can explore the stories you live by and those you have inherited from your ancestors, culture, and society. This course comes with 8 30-minute check-ins with me as you move through each of the modules. Enrollment is ongoing. For more information or to register, please go to my website, mythicsky.com.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Eileen Grimes of the Jupiter Rising Show, and you're listening to Talk Cosmos on Alternative Talk 1150 AM, where we discuss the meaningfulness of our roots in the stars.
Alternative Talk 1150. It's good for what ails you. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for keeping with us here and listening to Talk Cosmos today. Linda.
Yeah,
go ahead and share that Sabian symbol for 4 degrees, which rounds off. Oh, here we are. Good. All right. So
okay. These are the interpretations I got pushed to put in for these patterns, so they're not necessarily what you might be used to. And these are Mark Edmund Jones and Elsie Wheeler's Sabian symbols rather than the modified ones that Dane Rudyard did. So the symbol for the conjunction is 2 lovers strolling through a secluded walk, which has to do with being aware of the polarization of your basic essence into 2 modes of aspiration, the masculine and the feminine, the active and the receptive, and the need for the flow of love to link them together.
Wow.
Now,
go ahead.
Okay. I also do the soul and the spirit pattern for that particular position where the conjunction occurred, if you want to see those.
Okay, here, what if I may comment, though, this
Sure.
to me is really the essence of healing in many ways. You know, when I consider that of any duality that we have, to stop the separation from ourselves with nature, with ourselves from other people, whatever it might be, And it really also is the essence of life, the active and the receptive. Because I know with Kabbalah, you know, I think many of us, and I know Israel, you do, I've done a little study on it with some of the letters in particular, well, various aspects of it. And that's really, really what I got from the first two letters for Aries and Taurus, was that whole life force that I realized wasn't separated by days or months or years, but like every little moment of life was happening. So this is incredible that
this is actually the whole basis for our existence, the merging of these two energies. That's what we're really working to do, and it's just taking lifetimes and lifetimes to do it.
And in some ways I will say I have a book in my brain that I've had for years, most of my life, and I haven't written because for many reasons, and I still haven't. But in a sense, this is exactly what the essence of it is. It's just a matter of how to get that out, and you know, through a story form.
Well, I tell you what, you need to do that, because I know of an astrologer who has had a book that he was planning on writing, and he's now gone, and the book's never been written.
Yeah.
Well, there is that factor. If that's the case, just stick the lily on and say life went on. Susan means lily also. But no, I have to trust. I will trust. But thank you for that, Marie. I think you're right. Because I
eighth house person, you know.
Well, I did realize if we have goals, and I was because I always think, well, I'll do it at certain time in life. And I'll think, you know, that time in life isn't that far away.
It's
not
not
been on the planet for a while.
Yeah.
That time is not promised.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Well, okay. Not promised. I'll have to think about that one.
No, that one down.
Now, the fear-based protective ego pattern of actions and achievements. This is the other side, Mars and Jupiter. Were you going to say it isolated, separated? That's it. Yeah, that's it. So out of touch. Okay, so you were going to go on with something else.
Right.
We're with you.
There are 13 possible soul patterns for the degree between 3 and 4 of Aries. And the soul pattern that the Mars-Jupiter conjunction is this one, which is actually 14 of Taurus.
That's where Uranus is right now.
What's that?
Oh.
That's where Uranus is right now.
Yeah. Selfish, groping, and children playing, having to do with feeling things out, connecting in, groping around in, and playing in order to embrace all the levels of yourself.
So really, this makes me realize that this conjunction is what I'd hoped.
Yeah.
That it's not just a matter, well, I'll rephrase it. Remembering that we're transiting into this new 200-year conjunction cycle with Jupiter and Saturn in air, leaving the material world of 200 years where we had the Industrial Revolution. Not to say that, you know, but recalibrating things that in order to come to our whole self, we have to get the spirit to us. And the last time we had this, because in the cycle of Mars and Jupiter, if you do a electional search on it, it's kind of irregular. But the last time, the only thing I could find of some factor was when Aries, Eris, the goddess of discord, was in Aries, was back in the late 1300s, 1384 to 14 something. And during that time, there was a lot, it preempted the Reformation, meaning that people were saying, the talk was from that we people have the power of the experience, not the Bible. It was the Bible, not the priest, not the church. So now we're going into a new dimension of this. Like here it's saying all levels of yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the spirit pattern underneath it, the spirit wisdom principle that
First
is
world.
carried by this Mars Jupiter conjunction is 22 of Libra, a child giving birds a drink at a fountain.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
That's my moon.
Wow. Yeah,
Drawing,
that is.
drawing
I
from
like
the
that.
fountain. Yeah, the fountain of spiritual nourishment, drawing from the fountain of spiritual nourishment, replenishing yourself, and generously sharing with those around you who are not able to obtain it for themselves.
Right.
So that is, the way I look at this is the aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
is the goal,
Yeah.
and it's up to humanity to
Right.
actually achieve that goal or not.
To put this principle into operation or not.
Hmm.
Oh, I see. So it's the fertile growth, but whether or not a person chooses to plant that seed or to
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
Well, the
This,
So
seed,
this.
yeah, and the
this,
seed will be planted at that conjunction.
right.
Yeah. Right.
Israel,
Yeah.
what were you going to
And
say?
No,
remember,
I was gonna
this
say.
is what the universe is pushing toward, and we can either go with it or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. As the saying goes, when life throws you lemons, you make lemonade.
Yeah.
This is what
Mhm.
the cosmos is giving us. This wonderful Mars Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So Mars is very comfortable, very dignified, and strong there. And also, as well, by rules of tradition, we have something that's known as essential dignity. And there's a part of the essential dignities that's known as the terms, where a zodiac sign is divided into 5 sections, and each section is governed by allotted to a particular planet. Now, the first 6 degrees of Aries is the terms of Jupiter. So Jupiter is also in his own term. So traditionally, this is actually seen as a very, very strong Jupiter. We also have something that's known as Set, and Jupiter's one of the triplicity rulers of the fire signs. So he's in a fire sign where he's very well placed. He's in his terms. So Jupiter's very strong. Mars very, very strong also as well. And they are really giving us that ability to really go out there and expand. We know Jupiter's all about expansion. He's the planet of fertility, he's the planet of growth, development. And he's also a very spiritual planet also as well. So let's not forget this. With this Mars Jupiter, it can really allow us to perhaps maybe expand our philosophical and spiritual disciplines and
That's
principles,
it.
understanding of the world also as well, and allow us to really plant something that can be there as a
Right.
legacy for the future that can,
That is so true.
Yeah, and it seems that was exactly what I was suggesting, looking back in time, just from when Aries is joining the party in Aries, which
yeah,
she is
the other thing with Jupiter in Israel, that was wonderful. This is what you just said. The other thing to add on is Jupiter. It does, of course, expand everything it touches. It's the Santa Claus planet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And with Jupiter, the question that each individual has to ask themselves, and humanity needs to ask itself, because this is happening for humanity. How have we underestimated ourselves? That is the question that Jupiter always asks, because usually wherever Jupiter is placed is where we have underestimated ourselves, and it's time for us to go big.
Yeah.
Let's look at this.
To take risk.
I love this. Let's look at this
to
chart.
take risk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sis?
Thank you, Marie. Because Linda's chart here has Haumea, the planet of rebirth, which means possibly we're not looking at our rebirth here, Marie, which is perfect. I love this.
Yeah, one of the very interesting things here is that for an extended period of time, Eris and Haumea are within orb of opposition to each other.
Right.
Right now, that's less than 4 degrees in the orb. And so what we have here is Venus conjunct Eris with Haumea opposite it, and look at what this T-square is. Pluto. It creates a T-square with Pluto. And so this is a piece of the message of this conjunction, is that we must include the balance, the growth, and the beauty of Venus in order to have the rebirth that we need.
And we must do the Pluto work.
Yep, and that exactly.
Yeah.
To achieve that.
Yeah.
So let's
Pluto work has to be done.
So expand on that, Marie. Please.
Well, with, as we know, with a T-square, the resolution point here is the square between Pluto and the other, the other planets.
Yeah.
And with Pluto, it's that deep psychological work. This is one of the reasons I believe we've had the viruses, sending us back to our room, so to speak, so that we could do that deep transformative work.
Yeah.
And some people have done it or have begun or, are moving forward. It's only if you do that deep Pluto work, you can actually expand the way Jupiter really wants you to expand. Well,
Thank you. Yes, I love this because we have shadow. It's shining light. And that's what Aries does too. I've been studying with, I know that I'm so grateful, Linda, that you're interested in these dwarf planets also, because Alan Clay, who I've been taking his courses for the last year, and with Aries, he keeps saying it shines light. I thought that's really a great way, and that nobody can escape. That's the thing. Everybody's included, nobody's out. So therefore, if we have Eris, the Lady of Discord, goddess of discord, which is not really her intention. It was just because people had been left out and not everything had been included. And she's with Venus, which is so amazing because that's just part of the whole mythology that, of course, Aphrodite had the chosen because of the love factor that we need. And so here we have, like, she's shining light. You could say Pluto wants to dig down and say, where have we refused those persons our love, because that's that shadow part of ourselves that I can't even recognize, and therefore they own it, not me, that type of a thing. And Haumea, she's the goddess, of rebirth. That comes from Hawaii here. And it's where it's really birthing everything. The only one that she really birthed was Pele, the volcano. We had an earthquake last night. I was in bed with my husband, and all of a sudden I thought, is that a trick? And it's only the fans going and the windows are rattling. It was an earthquake. It was just 2 miles out of Kailua Kona, which is not at the volcano. So anyway, it was 4.5.
Well, but if you think about Pele and what she is raw fire. She is Aries. If you
yes. But all the rest, Haumea birthed everybody else, but not but from all parts of her body. So she's total rebirth.
I think these planets, the T-square, the whole combination is really showing us and showing humanity at the world at large that we are going through times where there is going to be some strife and discord, and out of that, the rebirth happens. Without it, the whole purpose of Aries is that sometimes as human beings, when we because we're creatures of habit, and we get complacent, and we hang on to things maybe for longer than we should, and we have that Aries Pluto energy, which is trying to show us that, look, we need to change and transform, and we need to let go of things that that have become perhaps corrupted, and we got to release them and let them go, and it's all about that rebirth. But we have to go through some kind of strife or discord. We may get shaken up a bit,
Right.
but and tying that in with the Mars Jupiter in Aries, it's a huge energy. It's really giving us a real big boost. It's giving us that rocket so that we can plant those seeds, and we can say, right, okay, I've shedded what I've needed to shed. I've recognized the strife, the discord, and the rebirth is taking us in this new direction, bringing it all together. Yeah.
Well, and we're going to go through this transformation whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
Particularly with Eris active.
Yeah.
Eris will. And if you got Eris and Pluto together, oh my.
Right, yeah.
And,
that's why I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, the you notice it in the natal chart here. The Mars, Jupiter, and it has a wide connection to Neptune, but it's not really aspected. The standard aspects don't get it. But in vibrational astrology, we work with all the aspects, all the things that are called minor aspects, we found are not minor. And we can see how they operate in the vibrations. So let me just show you real quickly here.
Goody.
Okay.
This is fun.
Okay, I was just trying to find the particular place. This is the strongest place. Right here. This is the strongest this is 104, has more energies in the natal chart, more aspects than any other vibration. You divide the chart by 104 pieces, and you've got more hits than anywhere else. And here's the thing. Let me just give you just a real quick summary on that, and I think this will make sense to everybody. 104 is 13 times 8, and 13 is about tapping down into the special essence of who you are and expressing that. And the 8 is about the manifestation or making that work in the world. So Mars Jupiter is most strongly saying that we need to tap into the essence of ourselves and make that and bring that out and express it in the world. And look at here, it's Mercury opposite the Jupiter Mars. The Mercury, the esoteric ruler of Aries.
Yeah. And that tells you the challenge that we're having or going to have to actually do that with it being in opposition.
So Mercury is in Virgo. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, Mercury's in Virgo, so it's like coming up with the systems to do this work. The structure
and to make it practical in Virgo as well. It's hands-on.
To make it practical in Virgo. But look at where the Mars Jupiter, first of all, it joins with Saturn and Venus, and they're all in Pisces.
Now, this is because we have only a couple of minutes. Yeah. Well, this is really amazing. When you say the 8 and 13, that relates right, me taking all personal here, but it's so perfect. Well, so as a takeaway, we are essentially pioneering to receive life so that we can figure out that internal process so that we can really be whole and exert ahead.
Yeah, right.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Be whole and contribute the true deep essence of ourself. Bring that out and express it with others.
And don't underestimate.
Yes.
That you can do this.
Do this.
Right.
And in a sense here, and thank you, Nathan, we can take away with the charts now. Nathan. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Did I lose somebody? Oh no. Okay.
Oh, no,
No,
she's here,
I
she's
just
here.
All right,
stopped
very good.
sharing.
Yeah.
I just
you know what
stopped sharing because
yeah.
now I can see everybody
Oh,
again.
good. Yes, indeed. You know, and I think a lot of it, going back to the Capricorn, that, and we have about a minute here, we can talk a little bit, is a matter of losing, of deconditioning, losing what we consider of the past, honoring perhaps that essential purpose of it, but not trying to replicate, allowing us to go ahead. It's a complicated thing. I can see that this is integral energy, but it's going to be a continued journey, isn't it?
It is definitely a
It's
continued.
always a journey.
Well, I love having you, Israel
Thank you very
Hossein,
much.
Linda Berry, and Marie O'Neill. We're coming back again, I trust. Check our website and find out more about these wonderful souls, and thank you so much. Happy
Thank you for
journey.
joining us
Thank
on
you.
Talk Cosmos,
Thank you.
the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.